Let me just come back to this issue briefly, if I could, of ad tying, which is what Senator Lee was asking you about a moment ago. We've talked about how YouTube and search, you have dominant positions in both of those areas and platforms, and that you have to use a Google ad platform in order to place advertisements on search or on YouTube, which means that an awful lot of people are using tools like Google Ads and DV360. My question to you is, do your demand-side platforms like Google Ads, DV360, do you offer volume discounts to advertisers?
You mean, do large marketers, for instance, do we provide different rates? Is that the question?
Yeah, do you offer volume discounts?
We do have programs that allow very large advertisers or very large agencies, which I believe are industry standard, reduced rates. I'm not sure whether that counts as a volume discount, but reduced rates when they buy our advertising.
Have these volume commitments that are necessary in order to get the discounts, have they increased over time?
I'm sure that as our systems have grown, they have grown as well.
In fact, they've increased so much that you can't actually meet the volume requirements just by advertising on YouTube or search. You now actually have to use Google's demand-side platforms in order to advertise on third-party platforms. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Senator. I'll have to. I don't know the answer to that question. It doesn't sound like it's the case to me, but I will need to get back to you on how that works.
Wouldn't that be a problem if that were correct? Wouldn't you be using your dominant position in YouTube and in search in order to incentivize and indeed monopolize the demand-side ad market?
Senator, I don't see it that way. If large advertisers, brands that we know and love, or agencies buy a large amount of advertising, it is a good thing for the various networks that can participate in that advertising to benefit from that increased demand. And so, yes, we and many other companies, if not all other companies that sell advertising, use programs that incentivize large-scale ad purchases because we're in the business of selling advertising. But I don't know why that would be harmful from the perspective of our sell-side platforms.
Well, it would be harmful because it gives you an advantage that nobody else has. I mean, you have the YouTube and search platforms that other companies do not have. You not only own those platforms, but as has been discussed at some length now this hearing, you control the entire ad stack from top to bottom as well, and you're using your dominant position in search and YouTube in order to give yourselves a dominant position in the ad stack, and not just on the demand side, not just with these volume requirements, but also on the supply side, because as you drive so much volume onto your demand side platform, it creates then strong incentives on the supply side for publishers to use the supply side, not least because you have tremendous amounts of consumer data, and there are great efficiencies that you create if publishers will use your supply side, given the volume of traffic you have driven to the demand side, right? This looks like tying to me in the antitrust context. Am I wrong?
Yeah, no, Senator, I don't agree. First of all, these are small percentages, very small percentages that are used only with the largest advertisers. I think you will find that anyone who sells large amounts of advertising, and I think I would include, some of our largest competitors, including some of the competitors that also operate large supply side platforms, as having similar incentives with large advertisers. The idea that from a business perspective that you would encourage large buyers, to buy a little bit more seems appealing from a business perspective. And given all the choice that I've outlined in terms of both publishers and advertisers being able to use all sorts of different platforms and either to buy or sell advertising, I don't know where the harm is.
Well, I think the concern is that you control YouTube and search, which are the dominant platforms. You control massive amounts of consumer data that you have harvested from your other consumer-facing platforms, Gmail, Google Maps, G Suite, etc. You then use those advantages in the ad stack at every single layer of which you exercise dominance in. This looks like monopoly upon monopoly in a classic case of tying. I mean, we'll see, right? We're going to find out, I hope, as these antitrust investigations proceed. But the appearance, I think, is very troubling. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.